The year is 1987. Hair is big, leg warmers are bright, and a local TV station in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro is about to go broke and shut its doors forever, but not before it debuts what would become one of the most beloved television series of all time. Welcome to History Science Theater 3000, a free, bi-weekly, unofficial video essay channel that dives deep into the lore of what I believe is the best television series ever made. I'm Zoe, your misty memoirist, and I promise I'm doing this for free. In the late 1980s, comic magician Joel Hodson was living in Minnesota. After crafting an incredibly successful but very brief stand-up career in Los Angeles, he'd returned to St. Paul, where he'd graduated from Bethel University in 1982. He and Jim Malon had rented neighboring hangar spaces to work on their creative ventures. Spoilers! Jim would become co-executive director and producer on MST3K. Like Joel, he was originally from Wisconsin. He was also a prankster with an affinity for plastic flamingos. More on that in another episode. When he met Joel, Jim was the production manager at a small, last-rate UHF station in Minneapolis called KTMA TV-23. Now, a note for my younger viewers, UHF stations are extinct now. This was before the internet, so local channels like KTMA had to broadcast movies from a limited library of physical film. And in their case, it was extra limited and full of really bad movies. As Jim told Wired magazine, quote, "We had the worst movie library imaginable." But Jim was no stranger to cheesy B-movies. In fact, he had directed one. Bloodhook, or if you prefer its cooler original title, Musky Madness, is a low-budget slasher parody that takes place during a fishing contest in backwoods Wisconsin. It premiered in 1987, just a year before MST3K.
Bloodhook, where the catch of the day is you.
Jim enlisted his friend and fellow creative Kevin Murphy to help with Bloodhook.
You're using a T-square there, Norm. What is it?
This is a modified T-square with a 45-degree bevel and a level bevel. The bevel level is good for leveling your bevels, and the bevel level is good for beveling your levels.
Kevin, a native of Chicago, would end up working with Jim for another 10 years, first at KTMA, and then as the lovely Irish tenor voice of Tom Servo.
Open up your heart and let the Patrick Swayze Christmas in.
Such was the state of KTMA when Joel and Jim met. The channel's crew was small, and its budget was smaller. Jim was in no position to be picky about what he broadcast. In fact, he pitched Joel on a game show that would pit stand-up comedians against each other. Psh, what a dumb premise. Joel wasn't too enthused about that particular idea, but he realized that Jim was serving him up a golden opportunity to re-enter the world of broadcast television. Thus, MST3K started as a few small doodles that Joel scrawled on a sketchpad. The two agreed to be 50-50 partners. Joel would handle the creative end, and Jim would be the business guy. Perfect. What could go wrong? The early KTMA episodes, sometimes referred to as Season 0, were a bit rough. Riffs were improvised, and even the cast admits they were pretty hit or miss. At several points during the movie segments, the theater seats are totally empty. Maybe Joel and the bots had to use the bathroom. Or the load pan bay. These episodes predate Gizmonic Institute. Joel doesn't wear a Gizmonics patch on his then blue or tan jumpsuit, and the large, gear-studded letter G has not yet made its way onto the door of the bridge of the Satellite of Love. Instead, the ship is decorated with cheap fake plants, undoubtedly a nod to Douglas Trumbull's 1972 space opera Silent Running, which is one of the films that most inspired Joel's vision of MST3K. Season 0's aesthetic mimics Silent Running's post-apocalyptic hippie space garden theme, from the gimmick of Joel's vacuum flowers to his shoulder-length hair.
Yeah, I'd like to know who does your hair.
Joel's hair gets progressively shorter after that, for some reason. Sadly, KTMA TV-23 didn't survive once MST3K was picked up by what would later become the Comedy Channel, and then Comedy Central. That story deserves its own episode of this show, so I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on another episode of History Science Theater 3000. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons. You guys keep the lights on around here. Make sure to check out the description below for more resources about MST3K and this channel, and how to get your story told in one of my episodes by becoming a patron. Join me next time as we dive into more fiddly facts about this famously obscure series. See you on the other side.